Well, welcome again. Let's continue where we have left. We were talking on the productivity and how we can understand the labor productivity in an economic system. Uh, Basically, as I said, I mean, even certain jobs uh, which are producing very important products for us and where workers work tirelessly for long hours at difficult conditions, risking their lives. Um the productivity in those jobs is seen, at least by mainstream measurements, small. Uh, so, which jobs are considered as more productive jobs? That might be a question. But first, we should ask how we measure the productivity itself. Well, we rely on one secret variable, which is assumed by mainstream economics as measurement of, well, many other different invisible variables, like measurement of marginal utility, and in this case, measurement of productivity, well, marginal productivity, we will say, but in order, when we are aiming to understand the uh, labor productivity, we still fall back on prices. I mean, uh, so we also assume it more or less reflects also the actual productivity, not only the productivity of the last worker. So the rule of thumb method to measure labor productivity in a country is dividing the real GDP to the number of workers within the labor force. An alternative method to do that, if you want to take the hours worked into account, then you can divide the GDP per worker hour. I mean, first number of workers who worked and then number of hours they have worked. Uh, Again, you need to rely on price mechanisms. And then, of course, if you want to understand which skill or which uh, factors like capital, physical capital increase productivity most, again, you try to measure how the prices, how the revenues created by those, actually the profits and revenues basically, because they are distributed also between worker and capitalists, created by those machines and those skills change. If those machines, a machine you add increase revenues a lot, then it increases labor productivity a lot according to this type of a measurement. Same thing is true for skill. If a skill the workers gain increase the revenues a lot, then it increases the labor productivity a lot. Taking this as the measurement, you can see labor productivity in most countries since 1950s has been risen up. United States is, I believe, here. This is Japan, and in Japan, you have actually a stagnation since 1990. So you can see it has fallen down. This is the crisis, economic crisis that happened in whole Asia. Actually, has taken United States down, Japan down, and then in Japan productivity has still risen, but not as fast as other countries. Although I think still not as fast as other countries. But in general, labor productivity rises as um, year passes, and this is Turkey case. You have the crisis periods where labor productivity decreases, but also in Turkey, mostly the labor productivity is risen up. As you produce more of everything, if the population doesn't increase as much, GDP per capita is increasing. This means that your productivity, labor productivity, is increasing. This is a rule of thumb thing, and if you set these things as into place. In most countries, GDP per capita in the world has risen in last 100 years, so labor productivity has also increased in those years. These ones we have gone through. So these ones we have gone through. So which skills are more valuable? You might say those that are needed most, basically. I mean, because when hard working is not that much important, if the basic, the importance of product is not important, in that case you should look to the labor market as a whole. If in a labor market a particular skill is needed for certain production, and that skill will be, and its supply is not that much. I mean, you need construction working skills, but that skill, and I won't be able to work as construction worker, for example. So it's a skill I don't have, but that skill is supplied a lot by the population. Why it is supplied a lot? That's a big discussion mainstream economics is not going into. Why we have a lot of farm workers? That's a big discussion, very big discussion. Mainstream economics is not going into. But those skills, for one reason or the other, are supplied a lot. Even if even high wage earners don't have those skills. Other skills, they are not supplied that much. And if they are not supplied that much, in that case the questions become, how important are those tasks? Even if they are not supplied as much, if that skill can be replaced by a different type of work, if we can have hospitals without doctors, for example, I mean, at least if we are able to increase the number of nurses and reduce the number of doctors and still have the same efficiency, we might do that if the wages of the doctors are too high. I mean, if the supply of doctors are not that much, so we have to pay high wages for our doctors. But if the job that is done by doctors is irreplaceable, okay, then the value of their skill goes up. So basically, we go down to the market mechanism itself. I mean, the certain skills which are at high demand and low supply, which are the critical skills which cannot be replaced by other types of work. Let me say, those are the skills that are most valuable. If we take the pure value of the human capital of different people with different skills, the most valuable skills, so the people who has most valuable type of human capital are people who have those skills that are in demand, that are demanded high but supplied low. Of course, well, now we have different skills that are in different levels of demand. The value of those skills are going down and up. When we are aiming to evaluate the human capital of the labor force in a country, our task becomes too difficult because I mean, how can we evaluate the value of so many different things that are taught, that are learned by different people, so many different abilities, so many different things that increase the productivity. Even if you rely on price mechanism, I mean, just catching, just getting data on different skills that are learned by people is difficult itself. And if we get one particular skill, for example, sieving, or for example, welding, people might ask why you are not getting information on other type of skills like accounting. So, well, even in case of price mechanism, there might be some question left as why farm workers are in high supply, why other types of skills that are even when they are, we might understand why they are critical and demanded a lot, but we might still ask why they are in no supply. There might be certain answers, but those answers are can still be challenged. And you might think about answers and potential challenges, and you can also search for potential um, responses to those discussions if you want. Um, but even going further than that, I mean, how do we measure overall human capital level in a country? I mean, as I said, counting one by one all skills is not easy. So there again, we fall back to the education years and the most typical education and how many years it continues for an average citizen in the country. And that typical education usually starts with the primary education. Nowadays, also early education is taken as a part of it and goes all the way to the end of the college. Then, if you make master and PhD, that's also taught as um, part of education. Taking that into account, I have gone to a school when I was even a baby and continue all the way to the PhD. So uh, when you count just in commercial method, I should have a lot of human capital in that sense. But this is when at the macro level, I mean at the national level, when you are looking to the human capital of the labor force, education level is considered as the way to measure the human capital level. And education years might be a way to do that. Another way is usually, I mean, and there the type of education might be another way to measure the uh, human capital level. Actually, I should mention this um in uh, when we are talking on education. Usually, there are two types of education. Actually, uh, one is general education, which is actually teaching students overall skills that can be used everywhere, like reading and writing. The second one is specific, which teaches you a specific skill that can be used at a particular job. Uh, in general, even though this is not 100% true, university education is taken as the place where the specific education is taught, and education before that is usually taken as the education which teach people the general skills. So in past, actually, there were three different levels of workers: those who didn't get that even general education, those who get that general education, and those who get that skilled, I mean, specific education. Uh, in time, in especially developed countries, but increasing also in developing countries, the uh, number of people who are who didn't get this general education from primary schools and secondary schools become negligible. So the overall division becomes between the people who are college graduates and not non-college graduates. So another way to basically measure the human capital level in that sense is dividing the population between the ones who have college degrees and the ones who don't have college degrees. Usually, the people with college degrees are considered as skilled, and people without college degrees are considered unskilled. Although interestingly, actually, in some departments, I mean, they can variety of jobs can be done by the people who are graduated from the departments. So the education there is more general, I mean, useful in different types of jobs. In some departments, they are more specific, I mean, in specific type of jobs, those that education is useful. And other people from other departments cannot do those jobs done by the graduates of that department, for example, engineering departments. Anyway, let's continue in the next part.